What if the Borg from Star Trek invaded the Star Wars galaxy? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Echo begins reviewing the files he recovered from Tantis. Along with freeing the clones, they were looking to figure out what the Empire was planning to do with them. Although some had said they were experimented on, he was hoping to learn a bit more. Unfortunately, the Empire had already scrubbed most of the data before they arrived, leaving him only finding bits and pieces. What little he does find, though, is rather interesting. Aside from Project Necromancer, he finds tidbits of intel about captured extraterrestrial life. Some things they suspect are even beyond this galaxy, or in the unknown regions. The technology they found was more advanced than anything they'd seen. He immediately takes this information to Rex.
Captain, you might want to see this. What is this? Captured drones? A collective? Where did you get this intel?
From Tantis, sir. It seems like the Empire wasn't just experimenting on clones. They were trying to harness some technology they found. It looks like this facility isn't too far away, and it might be intact if we can find it.
Weapons, tech, maybe some new allies. I see what you're getting at. All right, I'll prepare a mission.
Soon, the two of them depart on a shuttle to this Imperial facility, where Rex and Echo make their way inside. They explore the dimly lit hallways, keeping their blasters ready. They follow Echo's holographic map down to the laboratory, where they find a trio of creatures trapped in cells. Although they look humanoid, Echo frowns as he sees the mechanical additions to their bodies. Wiring and metal plating run across their bodies, covering limbs, eyes, and large swaths of their torso. He instinctively reaches for his armor as Rex glances over.
Seems familiar. Let's see if we can reactivate them.
Echo nods as he plugs his arm in and begins working on the interface. It takes a few tries, but he finally gets the power on. Suddenly, the lights are on, but so are the drones as electricity courses through the wires connected to them. As one, the drones begin to rise and stare at the pair.
Oh, you're awake. Good. We just wanted to talk.
The lead Borg raises its arm, a single red laser targeting Rex. The other two do the same. Seeing this, Rex opens fire at them, but the first few bolts splash harmlessly against their shields.
Shut them off!
Cursing, Echo begins trying to shut the reactor down as Rex tries to provide cover fire behind them. After several more hits, one of the Borg finally goes down, its armor sparking. Seeing this, Rex picks up a stray wrench from the table and hurls it at the second. The Borg staggers from the blow, but responds by firing a beam of green energy, burning the crate Rex was crouching behind and forcing him to roll out of the way. He fires again at the Borg drone and aims a punch at his unprotected head. However, the drone catches his arm and lifts him off the ground. Rex tries to kick him, but the drone doesn't seem fazed and tosses him aside. It advances towards Echo, who is frantically trying to cut off power, while the third sends a signal to the collective. With his other hand, he fires his blaster and scores a few hits on the lead Borg, but none of them have any effect. Slowly, the drone begins to pull him out, but Rex is faster and fires a shot right at the Borg's head. The blast causes his wiring to short circuit and begins to squirm around before collapsing on the ground. With the extra time, Echo manages to redirect power, sending a surge of electricity towards the remaining Borg. Sparks begin to fly as it throws its head back and screams in pain. The wires pop as his connection to the collective is severed. Glancing around, he looks at the pair and opens his mouth, about to ask them where he is. Before he can, Rex raises his blaster and fires a stun round, dropping the Borg to the ground. As they stand over the fallen drone, both clones feel their hearts pounding as they wonder what just happened. Slowly, Echo calls for Gregor to pick them up, as they carry the Borg with them. They take them back to their base on Pantora, where Senator Chuchi allows them to use one of the planet's laboratories. They hook up the captured drone on a repulsor lift table that keeps him restrained as they begin to feed him power once again. Slowly, his eyes flicker to life as it struggles in the restraints.
Where am I? The collective. Where is the collective?
The drone tugs against its restraints as it scans the unfamiliar surroundings, but then its movements begin to grow more frantic as he continues calling for the collective. Echo raises his hands as he approaches him.
It's okay, buddy. You're with friends.
The drone's head jerks towards them, its red eyes locking onto Echo's mechanical arm, and begins to struggle harder. The restraints whine in protest, struggling to hold him as he turns to Rex.
You are Borg. You have come to assimilate me again. Destroy him. Now! You must destroy him before he reclaims me.
Rex steps forward, leveling his blaster, but Echo raises a hand, signaling him to wait.
All right, that's enough. You're gonna need to explain everything before we do anything here. Just know that Echo isn't part of whatever collective you're talking about.
The drone freezes, its mechanical limbs still tense.
Free. I do not understand. I can still feel... No. There is nothing. There is only silence. I am... alone. Their presence is gone.
What do you mean?
Person. I am Borg. There is no individuality. There is only the collective.
Calm down. What's your name? What is the Borg?
Name? I do not remember. I was once something else. A person. But now I am Borg. We are the Borg. We seek to assimilate all species, to achieve perfection through unity. Every life form we encounter becomes one with us.
Unity? Like a hive mind?
Yes. One mind. One will. All knowledge is shared. All resistance is futile. They will come here. Sent a signal already. They will come here to assimilate all. You cannot stop them. Resistance is futile.
We'll see about that. How much time do we have?
Time? Irrelevant. The collective exists beyond time. They will come. Soon.
Will you help them?
I do not wish to become part of the collective again. I will help you.
With the new information the drone has provided, the clone resistance begins gathering whatever tech they can salvage from the warehouse. They study the weapons, ship components, and even the remains of the other two drones. Their captured drone, now by the name Hugh, assists Echo in these efforts. Although initially distrustful of him, once he learns that Echo is not from the collective, the two work closely together, planning out strategies and creating countermeasures for possible Borg invasion. Hugh is invited to remain in the clone colony on Pantora. There he is treated no differently than the other clones. It is a sense of belonging he never felt within the Borg collective. In many ways, the clones understand the need for individuality due to their role in the clone army, leading them to help him explore who he is. They even try to inform the Empire of this invasion through Rex and Senator Chuchi's contacts as a single Borg cube emerges from hyperspace at the edge of Imperial space. With the warning, a dozen Imperial Star Destroyers are immediately deployed to deal with them. They open up with a barrage of turbo laser fire, lighting up the cube and sending miniature explosions across its shields. But as the cube nears, it gives no clue of what it is planning, when suddenly, a burst of light as it scans the vessels and they begin to drain them of power. Alarms blare across the various Imperial ships as their crew tries to raise the shields or even return fire. But as the power is sucked out of them, they are rocked by a barrage of enemy fire as the Borg cube opens fire with everything it has. Without shields or power, the Star Destroyers are easy prey, and soon the Star Destroyers are wiped out completely. But once the battle is done, the Borg board the ruin wrecks and capture the surviving soldiers and crewmen to be assimilated. Their knowledge is soon absorbed into the collective, giving them much-needed data on this new galaxy. As much of the crew are now made up of conscripted soldiers across the Outer Rim and core worlds instead of clones, the Borg can learn much about the galaxy. They learn which shipyards the Star Destroyers came from, where the crew are from, and which ships are undefended. Just as quickly as the Borg cube emerges, it disappears back into space, targeting the most vulnerable places across the Outer Rim. With the aftermath of the Clone Wars, this region is ripe for the picking, as the Republic only has a tenuous hold on the region. The rest of the Outer Rim are controlled by CIS holdouts, criminals, or warlords. This leaves them easy prey for the Borg, whose advanced technology and hive mind are more than capable of outsmarting all their targets. World after world falls to the Borg forces and are quickly assimilated. The destruction is so great that many fear that another Clone Wars is happening. For Palpatine, who built his empire on the promise of peace and stability, this is unacceptable, and he organizes a massive response. War soon rages as the Empire sends entire fleets against singular Borg cubes. Rex's rebellion wages a shadow war on them, striking at isolated targets and disappearing. They strike at small Borg groups and single ships, or harass their supply lines. While it is far from decisive, it does allow them to cause trouble for the collective. More importantly, it gives them access to more technology that they can use against the Borg. But after studying with Hugh, Echo understands the true weakness of the Borg. As a hive mind, they are dependent on their leadership for action. That is why they can outmaneuver them in battle and win victories with smart tactics. But if they can disable the hive mind, it would be a crippling blow. Echo is already working on a solution, but in the meantime, he suggests they launch an attack on a Borg ship for more intel. To do that, they will need help, and Echo reaches out to the Bad Batch for help. The group meets up on Pantora, where they make use of a civilian freighter provided to them by Senator Chuchi. They monitor Imperial activities until they receive reports of a battle between a Borg cube around the area before taking off after them. By the time they arrive, the battle was over, with the wrecks of Imperial ships providing them with plenty of cover. However, the Borg didn't get off easy, as weeks of war had allowed the Imperials to move more ships and change tactics, so the Borg cube suffered some damages. Although Hugh told them they are capable of self-repair, it would take some time before the ship is fully operational, giving them a window of opportunity where the Borg are not operating in full capacity.
Alright, listen up. I know some of you have never fought the Borg before. They're like droids in a lot of ways. They're fierce, relentless, but not too independent. They rely on a central organism to direct them, so as long as we act fast and smart, we can overpower them.
As they approach the Borg cube, Rex, the Bad Batch, Echo, Hugh, and their troops grip their weapons tightly. Ideally, they hope the cube's sensors would be disabled and allow them to land, but if not, they can at least board. When the ship nears, Rex slows the freighter to make it appear unthreatening. Despite that, the cube's weapons power up, and a weakened burst of energy strikes the ship, disabling its systems. Suddenly, the Borg cube nears them and begins to attach a boarding hatch. The clones all stand by the entrance with their weapons drawn. As the ships connect and the hatch locks in place, the door slides open, revealing a swarm of drones. Wrecker roars and rushes forward, barreling them to the ground. Those who don't topple over come under fire from the clones. Hunter rushes close to them, swinging his vibroblade in quick slashes that cut them down in a few quick strikes. Once they are down, he gestures for the clones to bring forward their weapon, a captured electro-proton bomb, which Echo had programmed to temporarily disable the Borg cube and hopefully short out their connection to the collective.
Alright, come on. We need to get this thing to the control room for it to be effective.
4 clones hang back and push the bomb forward as the rest of the squad clear a path towards them. Echo and Hugh shout directions, directing them towards the reactor based on their knowledge of the map. As they move, they find themselves facing wave after wave of Borg troops. Thankfully, their advanced weapons allow them to advance, but on more than one occasion they find themselves bogged down in a firefight. The only thing that makes this mission possible is the Bad Batch, whether that's Wrecker clearing the path, Hunter using his senses to detect enemies, or Omega using Crosshair's training to pick off entrenched targets. Eventually they find themselves in the control room. It is a hive of activity, panels flashing and alarms blaring. Hunter and Rex quickly clear the room as Echo begins hacking in the console. Meanwhile, the clones begin to arm the bomb.
Just a little longer.
Another drone appears, but Hugh raises his phaser and cuts him down.
The bomb is armed. How is the data searching going?
I got it.
But then, the screens power to life as the image of an assimilated Kaminoan appears. Although she says nothing, the power radiating from her is clear. Hugh trembles, and the other clones go silent, as they can tell this woman is the Borg Queen.
So, you are the little needles pricking at our sides all this time. You have caused my people a great deal of trouble.
Your people shouldn't be here.
Enjoy this victory, for you will all soon be assimilated.
Suddenly, the drones fill the hallways around them and pour fire at them. Before they can even react, several clones go down from phaser fire.
We need to fight our way out. Wait, give me a second. I think I can get the transporter pad working. Buy me some time. Here we go again.
The remaining clones and Hugh crouch down behind the bomb, which the Borg are careful to avoid firing at for risking of setting it off. But as the Borg advance on them, the clones find themselves pressed and struggle to keep back. Suddenly, Echo gives one more twist of the key, and the clones and Hugh find themselves materializing back on their ship. Hunter quickly disconnects the docking tube and flies off as they activate the bomb. The entire Borg cube shakes as a wave of electricity shudders across its hull, disabling its systems and leaving it dead in space. Rex contacts Chuchi about it and to send reinforcements to recover it. It is a big victory, but it's a trick he can only pull once. As Hugh warns, the Borg will likely learn from their attacks and ramp up their counteroffensive. This means their next attack better be a knockout blow. Soon after, the Borg responds in kind as they launch a massive offensive across the entire front. Although this was a victory for the clone resistance, the Borg also learned from this attack, as they learned that they are based on Pantora and begins making preparations for their plan. Meanwhile, Echo and the others made their own plans for a counterattack. With all the data they've gathered, Echo and Hugh have formulated their own plan.
We've seen how they adapt. We can't hit them the same way again. We need something they can't counter. A virus.
A virus could disrupt the entire collective, severing their connection to the hive mind. But it's incredibly risky. If it fails, they will adapt, and we may never have this chance again.
The rest of the clone resistance leans closer, but Echo doesn't look too optimistic.
I won't lie, the odds are low. But if we can access a central hub, we can disable the entire collective, at least in this galaxy.
But suddenly, the night sky over Pantora explodes in fire as a massive Borg cube descends from the sky. Blasts of green energy rain down from the sky, while Borg soldiers are warped to the ground. Clones rush up with local defense forces to help defend the planet. Crosshair and Gamma open fire on the nearest Borg as they take Chuchi's hand and escort her to safety.
Bring it on!
Wrecker charges forward, body slamming 2 drones before firing off a volley of shots into a third. Rex weaves through the chaos, throwing thermal detonators and EMPs that disable drones while the troopers create a defensive line. Hunter sprints ahead, engaging drones at close range. His vibroblade slices through the metallic limbs of one drone, spinning to block another strike before delivering a quick blaster shot to its head. Echo stays back, his arm connected to a portable terminal as he works to hack into the Borg's ship systems.
I'm in. Hacking their transport network now. Hopefully they haven't changed their security codes. All right. Hunter, hold them off. Let's hope this plan of yours works.
The clones form a circle around Rex, Hugh, and Echo, taking down advancing Borg drones as Echo twists his arm around. Above them, the skies roar with burning starships as the defense fleet struggles to hold them back.
Got it!
Echo and Hugh finish the hack. With the flicker of energy, the transporter beam engulfs them. Rex and several clones are also transported aboard the Borg cube. They materialize inside the heart of the Borg cube, a massive, dark chamber filled with glowing machinery and eerie green lights. The hum of the collective surrounds them. But as Hugh gets the lights, they are greeted by the terrifying gaze of 100 vicious, angry drones. The clones quickly form a defensive formation, opening fire as they run for cover. Hugh stands alongside them, firing his phaser and using his own shields to protect the clones as they sprint down the halls. They eventually make their way over to a room where Echo looks to the door behind them. But as they turn around, they hear faint footsteps coming from behind them. Rex and the others turn to see the Borg Queen approaching, her mechanical limbs extending into the ship's systems.
You cannot resist. I absorbed this Kaminoan's memories. You were her creation. I suppose it's fitting you return to me then. I am the beginning. The end. We are inevitable.
The clones open fire, but the Queen's defenses absorb all the attacks. She manipulates the ship's systems. Drones materialize from every direction. Suddenly, the clones are knocked aside and locked in hand-to-hand combat. Rex picks up a droid popper and rolls it to their feet, where a dozen drones drop to the ground. He then raises his blaster and shoots off one of her wires.
You're gonna have to do better than that.
The Queen growls, sending a wave of green energy pulsing through the floor. Rex and the nearby clones are thrown back, but Echo and Hugh open fire. She follows and unleashes a telepathic attack, leaving Hugh clutching his temples as he falls to his knees. Echo gasps and snarls in anger. He rushes forward and drives his screw arm into her side. The Queen hisses in pain and throws him back. Suddenly, a sleek black staff appears in her hand, and she slams it down at him. Electricity bursts out and sends him stumbling. Gasping, Rex rushes forward and fires his blaster, but the Queen slams her weapon down and sends another burst of electricity across the ground, throwing the clone back. Hugh notices this and fires his phaser at the Queen's topmost wires. She blinks in surprise just as Hugh lunges on her back and fires into her side. The Queen staggers and screams in pain, trying to knock him down, but the other clones are on top of her. Rex and Echo both join in, raining fists and kicks on her until she manages to shake them off, her staff whirling and sending static flying around them. When they fire again, she effortlessly blocks their shots, allowing her to recover.
This is one tough Queen.
You think you can destroy us? We will adapt. We always adapt.
Funny thing about us clones, Clanker. We always learn too.
He suddenly rushes for the control node, and when the Queen chases after him, Rex hurls a vibroblade from his side at another wire. Instead of severing it though, he pins it against the wall, preventing the Queen from moving further. As she stumbles back, Rex leaps at her. Hugh runs up to Echo as he plugs himself into the systems. For a few seconds, things seem to go well, but then Echo screams as sparks begin to fly and his body trembles. His eyes roll back, and Hugh quickly pulls his arm out.
What happened? The systems. They fortified it. There's new firewalls. Anything that goes inside gets overloaded. I think I can still put the virus in, but
Do not even think about it. I will do it. I can carry the virus.
no, you've already been in this collective. I'm not letting you go back inside.
You're not asking.
And you've just rediscovered who you are, Hugh. I've known who I am my whole life. I had brothers who cared for me. Family, friends, and everything. I had a good run.
Echo,
Hey, you Borg aren't the only ones who've had to deal with not knowing who you are. Just promise me you'll figure it out before you come to see me.
I will, my friend.
Without waiting for a response, Echo slams his hand into the console, forcing the virus into the system. Alarms blare as the overload intensifies. The Borg Queen screams in fury as she feels the virus entering her systems. She tries to toss Rex off, but the clone remains on her. Hugh follows after, dropping his elbow against her. While she struggles, she swings her staff at them, but Rex catches it. Hugh, meanwhile, reaches for a droid popper in Rex's pocket and slams it into her chest. The Queen hisses as she feels her circuits shuddering, and she drops to the ground as energy courses around her, leaving her spasming. Above her, the ceilings pop and spark as the virus is fully uploaded. Drones around the room freeze, their movements stuttering as the virus takes hold. They stop and look around in confusion.
Echo,
He turns and his face falls as he finds Echo slumped against the console, his arm still plugged into the control node, but his body is blackened and charred from the overstimulation.
Echo.
He gave his life for us. Let us honor him by ensuring we finish the job. I think I can program the warp drive to send us below. Gather everyone.
Clones and drones rush around them as Hugh places the coordinates below and rushes up to them as the teleporter activates. When they rematerialize, they find themselves back in the city square, surrounded by drones and clones, who all look around in confusion. Above them, The cube shudders and then lists haplessly as its power is overloaded. All across the galaxy, Borg cubes begin to fail and float lifelessly, allowing the Imperials to capture and defeat the disorganized Borg. Senator Chuchi quickly reports the success and explains it is due to her clone troopers. Seeing the success of the clones and how badly this conscript army failed, many senators clamor for a return of the clone army. At the same time, she presents the data gathered of the Borg and implements a rehabilitation program with Hugh as an example of their success. She says that many Borg are expert mechanics, engineers, and technicians, and their rehabilitation can greatly improve the economy. With these twin successes, her block of supporters becomes a major player, and they allow them to better challenge Palpatine. Meanwhile, the reinstitution of the clone army is another blow that affects his ability to rule as Emperor. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.